Tesla's price flux continues. The EV maker raising prices of its models S, X, and Y vehicles. The increase a welcome sign for investors worried about Tesla's slimming margins thanks to its aggressive price war.
Startup companies are having a hard time. First of all, it's hard to find the money to build and scale production. Rivian, for instance, is hoping, it had one of the better earnings this week. Stock is still down. It's hoping to make 50,000 cars a year going forward. And Tesla made 437,000 electric cars. So, it's a big difference. And Rivian is struggling to make that. Lucid is, they're making about 2,000 cars a month. Fisker is making, slightly more of its trucks, but not that much. Another company, Lordstown Motors, is barely alive and running out of cash, it seems.
Last year, General Motors said it secured the raw materials it needs to hit its goal of producing 1 million EVs in North America by 2025. But Auto Forecast Solutions says GM is going to fall well short of that goal and will likely produce fewer than 600,000 EVs because it won't be able to ramp up battery production in time to meet that target.
That was the sound of Tesla's competition coming all over themselves, not for Tesla, including EV startups and legacy automotive manufacturers. I'm so very shocked to discover that it turns out that weird guy who kept saying production is hard might have been right. In fact, in 2011, that same guy had this to say in a private Tesla presentation that has subsequently leaked. Second place should need a telescope to see us, and what do you fucking know? More than a decade later, second place, 12th place, they all need some time on the James Webb Space Telescope to have a hope in hell of catching a glimpse of the rear end of Tesla, who are that far ahead. It's truly embarrassing. Turns out when Elon Musk says things, it's worth paying attention. Of course, when I say things, it's definitely not worth paying attention, which is why you should absolutely not click the links in the pinned comment to access more content, including on Patreon and for Twitter subscribers. So, over to Tesla's so-called competition.
Tesla's price flux continues. The EV maker raising prices of its models S, X, and Y vehicles. The increase a welcome sign for investors worried about Tesla's slimming margins thanks to its aggressive price war.
Now, I know at first pass that may sound like we just heard about Tesla. Tesla increasing prices on some of their vehicles. Tesla engaging in a price war. But these comments are really about Tesla's so-called competition. It is not Tesla's intent to cause a number of automotive manufacturers to go bankrupt. Tesla's just busy carrying out their mission to massively drive the cost of electric vehicles down, to massively increase the value they offer to consumers, and to scale their production to 20 plus million vehicles per year by the end of the decade, give or take. An unfortunate consequence of Tesla executing on this mission and being so far ahead already that their so-called competition really does need a telescope to even have a chance of seeing Tesla, is that as Tesla continues to swing around their gigantic pricing power and turkey slap the so-called competition left, right and center every time they adjust pricing, mostly down per their mission. Unfortunately, the majority of companies hoping, by the way, hope's not a strategy, hoping to compete with Tesla in the future by selling compelling electric vehicles to consumers are going to go out of business. The stock market doesn't seem to recognize this. Consumers don't yet seem to recognize this. Stock analysts don't seem to yet recognize this. Most, if not everyone in the finance media also seems oblivious to this fact. In the last 18 to 24 months, maybe 36 months if you're being generous, Tesla's so-called competition have finally realized they should probably be attempting to make electric vehicles if they'd like to be in business later this decade. The problem is, they're more than a decade late to the party. They won't be able to make it now. It's simply too late. Try as they may, I don't think there's a hope in hell for the majority of automotive manufacturers, including EV startups and legacy automotive companies, in surviving the decade.
But the year ahead is bright for electric vehicles. The International Energy Agency expects 14 million EVs to be sold this year. That's up 35%. But even as demand surges, EV startups struggle to scale up and compete with delivery volume from industry leaders Tesla and BYD.
Just quickly wanted to freeze frame on this, on screen now. Tesla in Q1 delivers over 420,000 electric vehicles. Number two, who many people have misleadingly been claiming was outselling Tesla in terms of electric vehicles because they're counting BYD's internal combustion engine vehicles that also have a vibrator-sized battery in them. These things are called hybrids. That's a bit of gaslighting. They're ICE vehicles. They don't count, and they're going away. Just look on screen now. BYD coming in second place. Tesla does 420,000 vehicles, BYD 260-odd thousand. And BYD are firmly in second place, but they are a distant second, and after that, it's an absolute joke. Now, to be clear, The Rivian and Lucid figures aren't third and fourth place globally for EV sales. They're just for contrast. But look at this. Rivian in Q1, less than 8,000 vehicles delivered. And Lucid, a whopping 1,400 vehicles delivered in Q1. I think at this point in time, Lucid probably has about a 2% probability of surviving the next 5 years, and about 1% of surviving the decade, maybe 0.5%. Rivian, maybe 20% if you're lucky of surviving the decade. They're certainly doing a lot better than many other EV startups, but it's still very early days, and I personally believe they've spread themselves too thin. They've got too many irons in the fire, trying to launch too many products around the same time. They've got the commercial van deal with Amazon, they've got the pickup truck, other stuff in the pipeline as well. Time will tell. Keep in mind, however, Tesla was founded in 2003. Rivian, only 6 years later in 2009. Don't know if you're good at math. 2009 was a long fucking time ago. If you ever want to compare and contrast, just rewind the clock. Look where Tesla was 9 years ago, and that's where Rivian should be today. On that metric, Rivian aren't doing too bad, although we've got to talk about cash burn, efficiency, technology, blah, blah, but let's not go there. Just for some extra contrast, Lucid was founded 2 years earlier than Rivian, 2007. For those wondering, Lucid has rebranded. They were originally founded as ETHEREUM, producing electric vehicle batteries and powertrains, the meat and potatoes of electric vehicles. They've since renamed/rebranded to Lucid and IPO'd. Shout out to the far end of the bell curve who bought the Lucid IPO. You got what you paid for. A valuable lesson.
David Callaway, Callaway Climate Insights founder and editor-in-chief, joins me now for a closer look at the future of EVs. Good to have you on the show, David. So I first want to start with what we've... Good to see you. I first want to start with some of the earnings that we've seen from Rivian, Lucid, and Fisker. What is that telling us about really in these companies in particular and really where they are in terms of competition with a Tesla or a BYD?
Yeah, this was earnings week for the EV companies, Rochelle, and we really began to see what's been starting to happen for some months now, which is the beginnings of a maturing of the electric vehicle industry. We've had 4 years of talking about electric cars, and Tesla's dominated the market in that time frame. All the other models were startups, and they had good stories, and they raised money, and they told good stories to investors. Some of them went public, some of them went SPAC.
They sure did tell good stories to investors.
And there was a lot of fanfare. And now they're kind of reaching the point where the entire auto industry has been sold on EVs. The big guys like Ford, GM, even Toyota are ramping up massively. And so the startup companies are having a hard time. First of all, it's hard to find the money to build and scale production like you need to. Rivian, for instance, is hoping, it had one of the better earnings this week. Stock is still down. It's hoping to make 50,000 cars a year going forward. And Tesla made 437,000 electric cars. So, it's a big difference. And Rivian is struggling to make that. Lucid is, they're making about 2,000 cars a month. Fisker is making, slightly more of its trucks, but not that much. Another company, Lordstown Motors, is barely alive and running out of cash, it seems.
Well, I'm sure all of these companies will be just fine. And by sure, I do mean sure, but by fine, I mean very much not fine. You guys remember, you probably don't unless you're an OG Tesla investor, the Tesla Death Watch website, a bunch of incels waiting for Tesla to go bankrupt. I think they picked the wrong target. I wonder if there's a Fraudstown Death Watch, a Rivian Death Watch, a Lucid Death Watch, a Nikola Death Watch.
So, what we're starting to see is as the industry matures, like any industry, you go from kind of startup talk and all the hype and excitement about what could be to the bigger companies coming in and saying, right, we're going to do this and we're going to scale it. So, I predict that some of these companies will fail. Others will be taken over by bigger companies. For instance, Lucid is 60% owned by the Saudis. They could step in at any time. Amazon and Ford have big Rivian stakes. So anything could happen there going forward. But as the EV industry develops, it's really going to be a race for the big boys to catch Tesla. And that's going to be interesting because we're going to start to see big boys from China coming in as well.
Strongly disagree. The big boys, as in legacy automotive manufacturers, are just as likely to go bankrupt as EV startups, if not more so. They're encumbered by legacy overhang. Most of their engineers won't be capable of brilliantly engineering electric vehicles. They may be a brilliant engine engineer. Doesn't count for squat when it comes to batteries and electric vehicles. nor, more importantly, the software engineering, which outside of Tesla, practically no one seems to have even a slight grasp on. Turning around a big ship, e.g. a legacy automotive manufacturer, is going to be a slow and brutal process. Most won't survive. It's interesting to me that many of the so-called experts seem to automatically assume, oh, well, big car companies, they'll be fine because they're big and they make cars. It doesn't work like that, I'm afraid. The 2020s are when legacy automotive manufacturers have their Kodak moment.
So then, keeping that in mind, then, this shakeout that we're seeing in the EV space, as you mentioned, some won't make it, some perhaps could be acquired then. And when you look at the number of EVs that are being sold, but then you look at the stock prices, especially for some of these companies that also have input costs that go into some of these EVs, seeing something of a divergence here. Why do you think that is?
Well, a car is an expensive thing to make. And an electric car is turning out to be even more expensive. It seems simple as just all battery, right? But the batteries are very expensive. You have to source minerals to get to the batteries. The batteries are heavier, which means that once we have fleets of electric cars on the road, and I think you said 14 million cars, this year, the IEA is also predicting, America will have 25% electric cars by the end of the decade. China will be 80% electric, Europe 60% electric. Once we have these massive fleets, they're going to be heavier. We're going to need new tires on all the cars, new roads, new bridges. But it's an expensive endeavor, and for a startup company, even one that's raised several $100 million, like Rivian or Lucid, that goes fast when you're trying to scale production and make 10,000 cars a month. So I think that's really what's behind the kind of shakeout that we're seeing. And in the meantime, Toyota, Ford, GM are ramping up big time. I mean, Ford said it expects to lose $3 billion on its EVs before it can get the profitability in a few years. It has $3 billion. The others don't.
And you have a lot of sort of homemade brands in China, Europe leading the way as well. But then you look at BYD. We know that Warren Buffett was hot on it for a second. We know he likes a strong economic moat. He likes a company that has a competitive edge. What's your take on what he's doing now with sort of selling and kind of moving away from BYD?
Yeah, it's really fascinating, Rochelle. I mean, we were talking about the startups, right? But BYD is the biggest EV company in the world, bigger than Tesla.
I've got to call bullshit on this, as I mentioned earlier. Hybrids don't count. They're ICE vehicles. How are they propelled? With an internal combustion engine. Do they have an internal combustion engine in them? Yes. Are they filled up with gasoline? Yes. Then they're an ICE vehicle. Doesn't matter if you put a vibrator-sized battery in it. It's still a fucking ICE vehicle. They don't count. I wish people would stop claiming that BYD are selling more electric vehicles than Tesla. It's not true. This would be like claiming if a man puts on some lipstick, he's now suddenly a woman. Sorry to rain on your parade. If he's still got a dick, he's still a man. Lipstick or otherwise.
And its stock has been up sixfold over the last 10 years or so. Warren Buffett got in very early. He got in right after the last financial crisis a dozen years ago. And he's been riding a huge profit on it. So the fact that he's starting to sell, he sold about half his stake in the last 6 months. This came out of his Omaha meetings last weekend, which you guys attended. The fact that he's starting to sell says something. It may say more about his concerns about China going forward, but it also may say something about the maturation of the EV industry, right? And BYD is the largest by far in China. It wants to expand into the U.S. Will it be allowed to by the government? We don't know. Is it going to expand into Europe? It is, but it's good, slow going there. So maybe Buffett's realized he's gotten the sweet part of the EV story, and it's time to move on to something else, AI or something like that.
Dude's obviously trolling. Zero chance Warren Buffett's investing in any AI companies. The guy didn't even understand technology by his own admission. Missed a lot of opportunities because it was outside his wheelhouse. I really find it unlikely, staggeringly unlikely, that Warren Buffett's out there now searching for artificial intelligence-based investments. He's going to stick to what he knows. And that was eBay startups plus BYD. And now, over to a legacy automotive manufacturer who definitely tell the truth to their investors and have a very great CEO. And you know she's great because she recently won Automotive CEO of the Year. Her accomplishments include having a vagina. My teleprompter, there's no more on the... Oh, my mistake. Sorry, guys. I thought there was more. That was actually the entire list. You did it, Mary.
Last year, General Motors said it secured the raw materials it needs to hit its goal of producing 1 million EVs in North America by 2025. But Auto Forecast Solutions says GM is going to fall well short of that goal and will likely produce fewer than 600,000 EVs because it won't be able to ramp up battery production in time to meet that target. GM is currently producing batteries in Ohio. Next year, it will open a second plant in Tennessee, and in 2025, it will add a third battery plant in Lansing, Michigan. GM says those 3 facilities will have the capacity to produce 135 gigawatt hours, enough to build 1.35 million EVs a year. But Auto Forecast says those plants will likely only reach 58 gigawatt hours by 2025, which is enough for 550,000 EVs. Auto Forecast expects GM to produce 76,000 EVs in North America this year and 328,000 in 2024. But even so, GM says it's still committed to its original target.
I'm so very shocked to see GM continuing to mislead investors by repeating that they're on target and aiming for things that there's no fucking hope in hell they'll ever achieve. Of course, this is just the opinion of some dickhead on the internet. Maybe they'll get there, but GM seem to have a track record, led by Mary B.S. Barra, who's really earned that nickname, by repeatedly misleading and deceiving her investors, saying things that defy reality, making outrageous claims, or straight up lying. For example, claiming that GM would overtake Tesla in US EV sales at a future date, while having a number on their website that clearly didn't align with Tesla, who were already producing more vehicles globally than that figure, and soon to be producing more vehicles than that in the US alone. It didn't check out. Yet BS Barra just doubles down. I'm pretty sure Mary is going to be lying all the way to the bottom of the ocean, if you know what I mean. Or maybe she'll surprise me after all. She was the automotive CEO of the year, so, I mean, hey, who am I to question her capability and competence, let alone her integrity and honesty? However, if I were to speculate here, I have a funny feeling that Mary's going to have a lot of company at the bottom of the ocean in a few years' time. Let's just leave it at that. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to athleticgreens.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also. AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going, what do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect. Believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. It certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point, and something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy, everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. Didn't have the energy. Now, My biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy. Wondering, what the fuck, really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely, it's not that AG1 is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it, you'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments. Oh my God, Snake Oil Salmon's sold out. Oh my God, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to athleticgreens.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links in the pinned comment, see you over on Twitter and or Patreon, and don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.